Hello, bonjour, Alberta. Did you know that at least 238,000 people speak Français in Alberta? And those numbers just keep on growing? Oui, oui, c'est vrai, it's true. And thanks to Shaw TV Community Access Programming, we get to reach out to everyone to let you know all about special people, places, events, and activities happening right here in this great province, in both English and en français. That's right, mes amis. We begin the first part of our program in English, and then we repeat it en français. So stay with us. Restez à l'écoute.
Welcome et bienvenue to Hello, Bonjour, Alberta. I'm Marc Lalonde.
And I'm Anne Boiteau.
In this episode, we are very pleased to welcome Celia Rose.
Thank you.
She's a singer-songwriter, currently based in Calgary, although you'll hear a lot of other information about all over the world. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Let's get started with the basics. Where were you born? How did you get interested in music?
Sure. I was born in Birmingham, Alabama, and I was interested in music because I don't know why, but I always loved to sing. And the main thing I really loved to do at a young age was to write poetry. And so I would write a lot of poems when I was like 8, 9 years old, and then I would sing them into cassette tapes.
Oh, yes.
And the funny story I have about when I started singing was that I have 2 older brothers, and I always thought I was singing really well when I was singing really loud. So when I was in the car and I was singing, I was just screaming it as loud as I could, and it drove them crazy. And I'm like, but I'm so good. So yes, that's what I thought was good.
Well, I think your brothers would have had to agree with you. It just probably gets on you for a while after a bit. So how did you come out of Birmingham, Alabama with that accent? Or
without the accent. Yeah, that too is a good question. Well, I would say first of all, my parents aren't from there. My mom was born in Hawaii. My dad's from Florida, and so they didn't have an accent.
Okay.
I definitely had an accent when I was in high school with my friends. But when I left, I went to college in St. Louis, and then I, moved a bunch of different places. And during the last, 10, 15 years, I did some work as an English teacher, teaching ESL, so English or as a foreign language. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, you have to enunciate a lot. And I think that just helped me to lose that accent and just sort of be, enunciate
more
so much.
international English.
Yeah, well, there's the answer to that other question that we were discussing about how in your songs,
yes,
you can hear every word. It's
yes,
crystal clear all the way through. It's really
okay,
quite striking in those areas. So do you have any musical education?
Well, I did a lot by ear growing up. So I learned guitar from my brothers. They taught me, and then, one in particular who had the patience to teach me. And then my father played piano, and he taught me piano. I did take a few lessons when I was younger, but I was a dropout. It wasn't, but I loved doing it by ear. So he taught me how to play the basic chords, and then I just would play what I heard on the radio. And then my dad played, but it wasn't his main thing. He taught himself actually as well. And he played from fake books, they're called. So he played, it gives you the melody, it gives you the chords, but you really just read the treble clef. Right. And so that's how I learned. And so mainly I know how to play the chords and whatnot, but I do a lot by ear. I look at a keyboard or a piano as if I'm painting. I really feel like it's like a paintbrush, and when I play, I'm like just zoom, and whatever I hear, and you hit bad notes, and I don't care. And that's how I love to play for the piano.
So when did you say, okay, this is my career, this is what I want to do?
I think when I first started writing poetry, when I was 8, 9, 10 years old.
That young?
I remember, yes, I remember when I was in 5th grade, and my teacher gave us, we did this creative writing class, and she had these folders, and it says your name, it says you are a writer. And I vividly remember that because it gave me this confidence. I was like, well, I'm a writer. Okay, then.
Wow.
And so that gave me confidence as a writer, as far as my poetry was concerned. And then, as I said, I just sang my poems all the time. And so for me, starting off, songs were just poetry put to music, right?
Yeah.
I noticed that you don't use the term baby a whole lot in your shows, in your songs.
Oh, really?
So, which is kind of a lazy thing to do, I kind of understand. Let's just...
I do have one song where I do use it a lot, actually.
Yes, but it's probably about babies.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not.
Okay, so there is one. There's an exception there where,
Yes,
where you had to sort of do that. I have to talk about your voice. I've listened to a number of your tracks, and it's really quite striking. Very distinctive. At the same time, the term I would use is effervescent. It pops.
Okay. Yeah.
You have this clarity of tone and bell-like quality. That's why I asked you if you had, training.
Oh, yes,
because
I
that's usually where that comes out.
Yeah.
So it's really quite striking, and I encourage anyone to go and listen for that. It's just extremely clear.
Thank you.
So I guess screaming at your, at the top of your lungs in the car with the brothers.
I did have some training. I did have training. I didn't even get to that point, but when I was talking before. But yes, vocal training I did a lot of in high school and then mainly in college. So I did study voice. I did choirs, growing up. So vocal training I did more so than guitar, piano as far as training is concerned. Yeah.
Okay. Well then that kind of explains it, because I'm thinking about Joni Mitchell and people like that have that kind of a distinctive, very clear tone.
Yeah. And you've been all over the world as well. Did that influence your writing or your music?
It's definitely influenced my both. Yes, for sure. I look at the writing that I do as storytelling. So everywhere I go, I meet such interesting people, and it just provides more, information and stuff that I can write about. So more characters, and that certainly has influenced it. And
your songs are usually based around some kind of a story or a situation.
Yeah,
at least the ones I've listened to. So that also makes them.
Yeah,
quite interesting.
And musically, it's I feel like it's got that influence. But the thing about music is, you write it at such a basic level, and then when you go into a studio, assuming you let the producer, work with you and add the instrumentation, that can change it in so many different ways, right? So like I did do some recording in Haiti with my musicians in Haiti. And so obviously that music has this Haitian feel to it.
Yes.
Sure.
And but the core of those songs probably didn't sound Haitian. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I wrote those songs, and they probably all in the end are going to sound kind of folk rock and ish. What kind of comes out of me tends to be that. But rhythmically, like there are some changes that have happened where I change the rhythm up to have an African type feel, perhaps. But I do feel like the production side is what then really changes the song.
And do you, for example, you mentioned Africa, you were touring in Africa. Do you change your show when you go to different countries? Do you adapt to the culture, or what changes?
Yeah. It just depends on the audience, right? From show to show, from country to country. It's who are you talking to? Who's the audience? What language do they speak, right?
Yes.
So I do, obviously French is the other language that I'm most comfortable with. I do speak some Haitian Creole, but so, I incorporate those languages where if it's a French-speaking country in Africa, or if it was in Haiti, I did some more French songs. Aside from that, what do I think will they get excited about? They may not know the song, but they may really get excited about this one with the simple chorus that they can sing with me on.
Or the story.
Yeah, or the stories, depending, right?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So you've lived in quite a few different places. And I guess the question, where you picked up your French. You're the wife of a diplomat, essentially, so that moves you around. You also have 3 small children.
Yes.
So it's a handful. How do you find time to do all that?
I don't know how. I really don't. I am, yes. It has been craziness with the addition of our new little one, who's a 1.5 years now. So I try to make a point to just, play every day if I can. And, in the early evening, after dinner maybe, when the kids are playing around, and I'll just play on the piano and they'll dance. And, I have shakers kicking around, a million different instruments. They'll just do whatever. So you just sort of try to fit it in when you can.
Get all of that part.
Yeah.
Do they sing? Do they sing some of your songs?
Yes. Oh, they do. Actually, they do. But that's because I have a playlist for when they go to bed at night, and I've thrown a bunch of my songs on their playlist. So when they go to sleep, it's they hear it, and so they do. And in the car, they'll ask for them sometimes. So.
That must
they
be
like
nice
my new
to
album.
hear your mother's voice singing her songs.
It's fun, yeah.
On the radio, it's going to be cool throughout their lives. I'm quite sure. Yes. So Celia Rose, that's your stage name, is it not? It's not. Well, it is kind of the name you were born with too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can you tell us that story?
I can. Let's see. So, my name is Nancy Celia Rose Kujawinski, or Kujawinski, if you want to say it the proper Polish way. And when I was born, okay, I'm going to give the long version, but I will make it. Okay. When I was born, I was Celia Rose. My mom wrote down Celia Rose on my birth certificate, and then last minute, my dad came in and was like, "Oh, well, I want to name her after my grandmother," and so it kind of got pushed over. And so growing up, my mom was always still calling me Celia Rose. And so I feel like I've kind of taken that on and decided to make that my stage name. And it is my two middle names. It was my great-grandmother and her sister came over from Russia, and that was Celia and Rose. And so that's where that came from.
So you didn't have to look too far to get your stage name.
I didn't, no.
That's great.
And it was certainly much easier than Kujawinski. So.
Yeah, and so your website,
Celia Rose Music.
.com
and all that stuff. Yeah.
It makes it a lot.
So you're now working on your fourth album?
Yes, it's my fourth album.
Wow.
So can you take us through a really quick discography?
Sure. Just about what
each of your three albums,
of course.
different places, different themes, perhaps, different languages.
Yeah. So the first one I did right out of college, and I went back to Birmingham to do my album with a friend who I knew was a producer. So it was his first album to produce. Now he's done, tons and tons, but I knew him as a musician, really talented guy. So I recorded that first album in a closet, shall we say, literally. It muffles the sound in a proper way, and
So that was an English language
That was in
recording?
English. It was all stuff that I wrote.
And what's it called?
It was called Celia Rose because I didn't realize at that point that you could name albums. I didn't think about it, so I just called it my name, and and it's I was quite young when I wrote some of those, 15, 16 years old. Some of the songs I wrote on there, I recorded it at age 20, but so it's a lot about just the youthfulness and going off to college and what that's like, and first love.
What's the second album then, if you don't mind me moving you along?
Sure.
We don't have
The
much
second
time.
album I did in Paris with my band there. So that one's actually under Wrapped in Rain. So if you Google Celia Rose, you don't find that one. But it's called Wrapped in Rain was the name of my band. And so we recorded that one at a French studio in France, in Belleville. And so it's co-writes, half are mine, half are hers. Some of them are co-written between this other singer-songwriter. I don't think there's any tracks in French. There may be one, which is surprising because we were in France and we did so much.
Paris, yeah.
Yeah, but most still came out of us in English when we wrote them, and that's where. Yeah. Third album, right? Of course. Third album was done in. Was done in New York, Brooklyn, and that's another one of 10 or so tracks that I wrote. I pulled in a band, so I.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to finish this in the French segment. We've got lots to talk about.
Sure.
So I want you to thank you again for joining us, Celia Rose. And please stay with us. On continue en français.